welcome to episode 3 of Benny Shakes Things Up. Just before we start, we have, if you can like and subscribe on YouTube and share this podcast, that would be great. And also, if you're feeling generous, we have got a headliner we are interviewing today, and they haven't worked for 6 months now, so it would be nice if you could buy they some coffee or a pint or some water. I leave it up to you. But before we start, I want to introduce you to my co-host, Kate Lovelock.
Hello.
Hi, you're right.
Hi, hello everyone. How's it going?
Welcome to Benny Shakes Things Up.
Be it?
Yeah. How's your week been?
Busy, which is strange considering we're into month 6 of this, whatever this is, and suddenly I've got busier.
I know, it's scary times, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yes, but we'll be fine. Right, shall we get the guests on?
Yeah.
So, we've got Helen Edwards and we've got Sam Serrano. So, I'll bring Helen on, then I'll bring Sam on. Hi guys, you alright?
Hi.
Yeah, cool. How's your week been, Helen?
Not too bad. I've had a few days off work, so I'm sorting my life out a bit.
All right, lovely. Cool. What about you, Sam?
It's been quite good. I've been able to get back gigging and binge watch RuPaul's Drag Race. So nothing really has changed from when I was in lockdown. I'm not isolating again. I just don't have to now.
Do not tell us what happened on that show. I haven't seen it yet. I've got it on record. So please do not tell me. So, at the beginning of the show, I like to go round the room and ask everyone, like I call it, what is your superpower? Because some people don't like the word disabled, but we'll get to that shortly. So everyone knows my superpower. I've got cerebral palsy. What about you, Kate?
My superpower is called Hemiplegic, which is actually a form of cerebral palsy, but it's only down one side of my body. So it's only down my left side, and my right side is slightly overcompensate, but my left side has cerebral palsy and my right side doesn't. Because that's the way the brain works.
So does that mean you've got muscles, big muscles on your right hand side?
Yeah, I've got really strong muscles. I'm very good in arm wrestling, and I've got massive right hand and a very small left hand, so it's quite weird.
Cool. I wouldn't like to fight you in a dark alley then. No?
Nah. No, don't. I sometimes do kickboxing, so don't.
All right.
No, just first one in, just gonna threaten you slightly.
Cool. What about you, Helen? What's your superpower?
I self-identify as being on the autism spectrum somewhere. I'm really good at concentrating as long as the conditions are right.
Cool. So, in a tsunami, you could read all the rules what to do before we die. Then,
Yeah,
is that
that
what you say? Cool.
yeah.
I like that. I'm going to Germany next year. You can come with us and read the rules if you like.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, cool. And our headline, I saw him at the Leicester Comedy Festival. I should have said that before, but hey ho. Sam, what is your superpower?
I have Kabuki syndrome, which is it's very similar to autism. It's also a bit like ADHD, but most of it's physical. So my eyebrows are quite triangular. I sleep with my eyes open, which can freak people out. I don't tell them I'm doing it. If I fall asleep on a bus and I'm just staring at someone for 45 minutes.
I used to have to share a room with my brother-in-law, and he sleeps with his eyes open. He's bald and he's got big eyes, and yeah, he don't like it. So I moved from London to Nottingham to get away from his eyes. Cool. So I forgot what you said, Sam. So what would you be if you was one of the superheroes then?
Oh, I'm not too sure.
Because you have, it's not a disability, but you what's the word? You identify as.
Oh, I'm gender fluid
Yeah.
and bisexual as well.
Cool.
Yes, they're not counted as disabilities, but
No, but
if you ask my mum, she might.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm gender fluid as well.
Yeah. Cool.
So all the Iron Man, Superman, I'm somewhere in between Superman and Wonder Woman, kind of in the middle.
Right. You could be a bit of both. You could one day be Superman and one day Wonder Woman. Why not?
All the bases are covered.
Pardon, Helen?
All the bases are covered.
Yes.
Exactly. So you are definitely in my van. So that sounds creepy. Come into my van. I've got sweeties. Kate, did you want to ask a question?
I do want to ask a question about online gigging. How much have you both been doing it? I asked this question also because I know Sam won the. I always say Gong King, but it's King Gong, isn't it? Online recently. So I was just wondering how you're finding online gigs, if that's what we have to do, and are you liking them?
They're not as good as real life gigs, obviously, but I think I need to do comedy in some form just to keep myself mentally sane. So if doing gigs online is how I have to do comedy, then that's how I'm gonna have to do it. Like, I could be told tomorrow, "Oh, you're allowed to do comedy completely naked." I'm like, right, that's happening then. Like,
I do want to do the naked comedy at Leicester Festival.
yes,
I think.
I
yeah, I
yes,
would have to do it.
yes, but
But-
because I do a joke about my testicles, I think it would be quite good. Yeah, yeah,
Topical, as it were.
yeah, topical, because that would be, yeah.
I
'Cause
think my raw sex appeal might distract people at that gig.
no, you'll be fine. Mark saying something about a van. He's got Greg in his van. There you go, Kate. How long did that take?
10 minutes. I think that is now your record. We're gonna keep, because I don't know how many. When did it start before? If it doesn't, you should definitely have that as like that. 10 minutes is your baseline now, and you can keep jumping off of that. So 10 minutes in, and we've got a Greg's record.
It's all right, Sam. We're trying to get Greg's to sponsor us. Some of us disabled comedians are going to go on a road trip when we get out of lockdown to Germany, and we're going to see how many Gregs we can get to before we get to Germany. So it should be interesting.
They're all here in Newcastle.
Yeah. Can you go to the factory, Helen, and ask if they want to sponsor us to do a road trip?
Oh, I'll talk to my people. You know, we had a 24-hour Greg's before lockdown, don't you?
Did you?
Isn't
I
the
think
first Greg's?
What's that, Sam?
The first Greg's is in Newcastle, isn't it? The first one.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it was Newcastle.
I think so.
Yeah. Where was we before?
Virtual gigs.
Virtual gigs.
What about you, Helen?
Well, I'd only done about 35 gigs before lockdown. And then I knew that I wanted to carry on, but the energy just wasn't there. So I spent a month or two just sort of feeling a bit shit. But then I gave it a go. The first virtual gig I did was an informal open mic night, not for comedians, but just like a mixed thing. And I did my best material and it just fell flat. And it was really, I just thought, can I do this? You know? But I just kept going because, like Sam, I knew that I needed to keep my hand in, so to speak. Comedy, I realised when we got into lockdown that comedy had been almost literally keeping me sane before, and then suddenly it wasn't there anymore. But I'm in a situation now where I think I've nearly done as many virtual gigs as I had done before lockdown, which is great.
That is good.
I'm finding my footing a bit with it, I think, now.
Yeah.
So,
have you made sure the big Zoom gigs you've put on your CV, like the big name MCs, is that right, Sam? You don't put the little fishes on, but you put the big names on.
Yeah. I learned that very much the hard way, and I still had Comedy Store and then an open mic night right underneath it.
Right.
Yeah, you just put the big ones on. That works better.
Yeah. Is there anything else you should put on a CV?
Kind of quotes from press, or if you ask a club for feedback, put that on there. And if you have a gig with any pro comics who seem to really like your stuff, ask them for a reference, and then promoters will ask them, is this person okay? And then I think that's how I've got most of my gigs, is off my references.
I never thought about doing that. What about you, Kate?
I haven't really got a CV. I literally have, because I haven't thought about it that much. I'm like, I have a bio of like, but it's like one of those kind of bios that is kind of a bit, tongue in cheek. So it doesn't mention my what gigs I've done at all, except that I did the So You Think You're Funny last year. So getting into the semis, that went on there, and that's it.
Cool.
100%.
Cool. Where are we? I've lost my way.
I'm in your house.
So,
sorry. Pick me out if I'm not careful.
So, I've been told not to say sorry tonight, so you're not allowed to say sorry either. So, yeah. So, your disabilities, guys, how does it affect your day-to-day living? Because I know that because I shake, I find it hard to do anything. I mean, even doing this, I'm like doing a workout. Can't you tell I'm going red and I'm sweating like mad? So, yeah, what about you, Helen?
Anxiety.
Right.
Lots of anxiety. What else? Sorry, did you want? I wasn't listening properly. Did you say good things?
How does it affect your day-to-day living?
Yeah. So
I do know with you, Helen, I hope you don't mind me saying that you like a routine, don't you?
Yeah.
So if it's broken, it sends you into routine.
It's problematic. Yeah. I mean, again, before lockdown, I had my routines, and not comedy routines, but everyday routines. And then, I mean, there was a moment where, after we went into lockdown, everything had changed. So, got routine for all the things I need to take out of the house, and because I was not going out as much or going to just not very far, I would do things like accidentally leave my phone in the house or my shopping list or something. It's just silly stuff, but it's quite stressful at the time.
Yeah. I think Sam's agreeing there. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm the same with needing the routines in place. Like, because it's usually like the smaller things which send me like off on one. Like, it'll be stuff like, I don't know, like not finding like the right glass to put something in if I wanted to drink. I'd be like, if that glass is like in the wash or someone else is using it, it's like, right, not having a drink then, sound. Or that's like the main one with the routines. It's been one of those things where when I first started doing comedy, I had to have like set routines, and I had to be like, I'm gigging on these days, I'm working on these days. But then I had to kind of slowly get used to like taking last minute gigs, just to further and like to get in with more clubs. So it was something that I've just had to kind of get better at, not having too much of a routine. That's taken a long time to kind of get better with. And even like we said the other day, I was in Nottingham on Wednesday, and I was doing I was already booked to do one gig, and then I picked up a gig last minute, and that last minute gig, it kind of threw me. So I was a bit I wasn't my usual self at either of the gigs. I was a bit all over the place and it was quite quiet just because I didn't have like the routine that I thought was going to happen wasn't really in place. But also because I've got ADHD as well with as part of the Kabuki syndrome, I get a lot of like backaches because I'm constantly moving. So like I have to do like 2 or 3 runs a day just to kind of get all my energy out because I'm sat on trains for most
How
of the
is that why you're skinny as hell? Because you run a lot. I need to start running.
Yeah. Running and mix of bulimia as well.
Oh, right. There is. And I bet that is hard as well, being
I've that's in which in lockdown I was like, I have to get on top of this because it's just getting silly. I think before lockdown, when I weighed myself, I weighed the same as Ariana Grande, who's like just under 5 foot, and I'm 6'3". So I was like, oh, that is an issue. So yeah, that's been like a big thing that I've been trying to keep on top of. But again, now that gigs have started coming back, and you'll know this with gigging, you can be up and down the country and not get home till like 2 a.m. So it's stuff like remembering to pack food, because if I get back and I'm too tired, I won't eat. And then
I don't eat at all. When we're on the road, I won't eat. That's why if I'm on a long journey, I try and double up with a comedian. Like, I'm going to mention his name again, Tommy. Tommy Wags. Yeah, I forgot his surname. So he gets hungry, so then that forces me to eat. I don't like eating at silly o'clock in the morning, but Tommy does. So,
yeah. That's been just something that I've had to get used to.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, have you? I'll go to you first, Kate. What about you? How does it affect you?
Well, essentially, I have one functioning arm and one sort of claw from a arcade machine type thing going on. And I've got a limp, and essentially because it's the entirety of my left hand side, so it's like my left eye squints, you know, everything on my left side is ever so slightly smaller, and you sort of I just essentially live my life one-handed, which sounds really weird, but it's not meant like that.
No. Cool.
Yeah, so
Cool. So, what have you guys ever been? Is the word prejudice with your disability? I mean,
do you mean discriminated against?
Yeah, I do a lot of my jokes about roadkill, rednecks, and mainly also if someone's upset me or what's that word again, Kate?
Being discriminated
by. I use that and I make a point on stage. Do you guys do the same?
I think with me, it's more people being quite patronizing. I don't think it's something I can really. I don't really face.
Yeah. We'll do Sam first. Go on, Sam.
Okay. I was saying it's more people being patronizing, which I talk about a bit on stage. I don't think I've had much. I don't think anyone's actively discriminated against, just because it's more social issue with me, and it's more not being able to talk to people. But then at the same time, I think maybe some people like get the wrong idea. Like if in green rooms I'm just not talking, I know it can come across slightly rude. So maybe that's not people like personally going, oh, Sam's got this disability, we're not going to talk to him. But it's more that I think people find it difficult to kind of have a conversation with me if I don't know them that well.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think when we met, it helped that Tommy was there because he's got a big gob. Sorry, Tommy, but yeah. He helps with conversations because, again, without Tommy, I would sit in a corner and read my book and be rude. I don't mean to be rude, but because I like my own space and I like me, I don't communicate. So yeah. What about you, Helen? You're frozen. Hello. Okay, we will come back to Helen. Helen, if you can hear us, come out. That's it. All right, you're back.
Back.
What about you, Helen? How does it? Have you had any? What Kate said, I forgot again.
Had anybody being discriminatory?
Yeah.
Not really, no. Like you, I do like to just sit and be quiet before I go on stage. You know, if I know I'm going to need a lot of energy for the gig or whatever, and yeah, people can think you're being a bit, but it's just.
But with getting a job, does it affect you getting a job? Because I know me, when they call my name and they see this lanky, shaky person talking a bit funny, they're like, oh, I look good on a piece of paper, but once they see me in person, they're like, right, okay. How do I get out of this? And in my eyes, that is wrong. You've gave me the interview. I've interviewed well. Don't give me a load of rubbish where it goes, well, you was good, but you could do with a bit of experience when I've got loads of experience. So
you said there that it's you said it was discriminatory in your eyes. It's actually discriminatory in the law.
yes,
but because they've not given that as a reason specifically, you can't. I mean, you could always challenge.
Yeah.
Speaking as behalf of people who work a little bit in HR.
Yes.
Go for it. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
So has that affected you, Helen, before you got your main job?
I have always struggled in job interviews. I don't think I put myself across terribly well in person. I can write a CV, covering letter, all that sort of thing. But you ask me questions that I'm not prepared for, and I'm going to sit there like a rabbit in the headlights. Even sometimes as much as I prepare for, what I think they're going to ask. It's tricky. It's tricky.
It is. I mean, Have you had anything like that, Kate?
Yes, I would say the slight problem with me is I started getting my quote unquote jobs that are quite good jobs around the time that I got a car and learned and passed my driving test. So it's that thing of I don't know if beforehand it was because I wasn't a driver or because I live in the middle of nowhere, or whether it's because it's because of my disability. I won't know the answer. I think it's happened to me a few times. It definitely happened when I was about 16, like part-time work.
Yeah.
Very much sort of you have a small town and all the kids want work. It's that thing of, well, we're not going to hire you.
No, that's true. Should we go and answer some of these questions?
Yes,
I don't know. Well, they're not questions, are they? John has said, I'll let someone read this.
Greggs do good vegan sausage rolls and they sell really well. I still puzzle about how a bakery doesn't sell loaves of bread. I think they do, don't they?
They used to.
I haven't been eating Greggs in ages.
I think they only do rolls.
Yeah.
I mean, do you like Greg's, Sam?
I'm vegan, so the vegan sausage rolls and the vegan steak bakes are some of the best things I've ever had. So I'm fully supporting Greg sponsoring this podcast. Definitely.
I'm gonna ask you something now, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
My friend's a vegan, a very strong vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I go over to his house, it's like, you're staying for dinner, and it's like, well, no, stay. But he says he can smell a meat eater a meter away. Can you smell meat eaters?
I've not been vegan for that long, but I can definitely like sense people who are morally worse than me. No, I'm not very strict vegan. I'm vegan unless I want halloumi, and then I'm vegetarian.
Right.
Pretty much how it works.
Cool. I'm trying to think. Have you got anything to ask Kate?
I suppose I'm going to ask I'm going to ask a question now, type question, in the sense of like, do you feel pressure to talk about yourself in your act, or do you like to tell stories or things like that? Is it more sort of you feel you have to explain yourself in some way, or are you always just like, do you know what? I'll say what I want and never mind?
I think I definitely put the pressure on myself to do it. Like, because I love watching comedians who talk about like more interesting things like Hannah Gatsby or Simon Amstel. So I like going on and talking about mental health or having learning difficulties. I also, because I wear makeup, I have to talk about that. Even though part of me would like to go on and not mention the fact that I'm wearing makeup. But if you don't, then audiences just stare at you like, what? When's he going to mention it? So I have to mention that, which annoys me a little bit, but at the same time, it's good because it's representation for people who aren't represented as much as I would like.
I agree there.
I like doing that because I know I've had people message me like, I've like in the closet being gender fluid. So you talking about it's been quite good for me. And same with being bisexual people. I think just having that, I'm going to sound really pretentious here, but giving people the voice that I think I would have loved as a child going through what I went through. So I like talking about that kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's more pressure I put on myself to talk about my disability, but I'd never go, oh, I want to talk about my disability, find something funny. I'd always think of something funny about my disability and then go, that's what should be on stage.
Yeah.
I always prioritize being funny, or hopefully funny.
You are. Let's go with yes. You are.
Yeah, so I'd always prioritize being funny over like talking about something that I want to on stage. I'd always try and find the funny angle before just going, I want to talk about having learning difficulties, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with my comedy, when I started, I was more about rednecks and gardening.
Yeah.
But lately, I've dropped in the politics joke about when people talk to me, they talk to my friends, or when a barman thinks I'm drunk and I'm not. So I get that. You would rather be funny first and then bring the disability in odd bits.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not in your face. Yeah.
I started comedy by doing a course, and I went in going, I'm not going to mention my disability. I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it. And then our first job was we as a group had to say something about the room, and I was like second to last, and everyone had said something really funny and really cool, and like I couldn't think of anything else. And then I was like, oh, there's a step there. I'm frightened of it. And it's that kind of thing of like, I suddenly went, oh, apparently I talk about my disability by accident. I'm not going to talk about it. And then it was like, oh, it's the only thing I can talk about. So
I think when you first, certainly with me, when I first started out, my disability was something that I just had to talk about because it was such like a big part of me, and you write about what you know kind of thing. So I think that might also play a part in it. It was something that I was comfortable talking about. So I just decided to talk about that on stage for a bit.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Helen? What jokes do you talk about? Without giving your jokes away, but what is your style, should I say?
I've ended up falling into a sort of deadpan delivery. It wasn't deliberate. It just sort of happened. It seems to work well, I think. But of late, I've been making more of a conscious decision to talk about myself because I find it easier not to punch down that way. That's really important to me, that I don't punch down. One of the things about doing Zoom gigs, I've got quite a big belly. You can't see it when I'm sat down, but when I was doing live gigs, I was bringing that into my act and doing jokes about that. It's hard to do without being self-deprecatory as a woman. I'm a feminist, so I don't want to fall into the I'm fat thing, but I did do that for a while. But yeah, I think there's so much to talk about your own life because you well, and yeah.
I mean, I thought when I'm writing jokes, I find it hard to do the punchline. So I can get the story or the one-liner, and then I either have to ask Tommy or Joe Zalius to help me with the punchline. How do you work, Sam? Have you got a system or?
Yeah, my system does not work very well for a few months. I write an idea, like a premise, and then I'll get on stage and just try and talk about it.
Right.
And then I like voice record everything on my phone. And then I go back and listen to it and go, right, these were the bits where you managed to think of something mildly amusing. Just put them together, and then I'll do that a few times. So like at the moment, it can take like 6 months to write a 10-minute bit doing it that way. So it's not very effective, and I need a better way to write. But because of my ADHD, just sitting and writing a computer is nigh on impossible. I have to be like walking around or doing something, just because my brain will just not function if I'm just sat down doing nothing. So yeah, usually on stage, I'll just go on and just be like, here are some funny ideas I've had.
Yeah.
Please, brain, try and get a joke out when I'm talking.
I mean, I did the ideal gig for Penny Shakes. It was at a farm.
Yeah.
And it had 2 old rundown buses. And I think most of you have seen my set. I have a blue book I put on the floor because my brain doesn't work. But then jokes were my foundation, and then a chicken crossed the stage. I just went, oh, is that free range? Can I take it home? And I just did different jokes, and lately I've started picking out the comedian what is funny but could come across disabled. So I go on stage and I'll go, you think he's disabled? I'm worse, and things like that. And it works, just coming off script sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Because it makes the audience think, oh, he's not just reciting something he wrote months ago. They enjoy it when you comment on something that's in the room.
I mean, how do you write, Helen?
I used to write in notebooks my initial ideas, but that got a bit unworkable because I was writing a lot. So I've now got this app on my phone called Evernote that I put all my funny ideas in, and then I'll write out a set when I'm learning it because it helps it go into my brain, and also when the physical act of writing it out makes my brain work on it more. So I might think of extra bits or a better way of wording something. And then I was going to say something else. I'll often get like the punchline first and then I'll write backwards. So an example of that is I don't eat gluten because I'm gluten intolerant. And the phrase bread is pain popped into my head one day. So I now got this joke about opening a gluten-free bakery in France called Bread is Pain.
Like it.
It's all right, I'm just trying to read Tommy's thing.
Bigger laughs in the moments joke. In the moment joke.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. What about you, Kate? Get off, Tommy. He's not even here, and he wants to be attention of one of them.
Yeah. How do I write jokes? I just asked Tommy. No, I've never met him. No, I'm actually pretty much the same as Helen.
Right.
In the sense that I start with the punchline and work backwards. And the punchline, the thing is, I spend ages with a punchline, and then I'm like, I need to make it fit. And because I was mildly hipstery, I used to always write in coffee shops because that's what you've got to do.
Wasn't that fun before lockdown?
That was way before. That was before lockdown. It's like you got to. But yeah, I like writing with other people. I think Mark said it. It's really good to write with other people because you'll sort of go, I'm bouncing around with this, and they'll go, they'll go, oh, you've and hearing the way their brain is sort of where their brain goes when you say something, it's like, is it a kind of thing that you always do? That's it. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, it's that. It's kind of hearing that, particularly if you're looking for a misdirection joke.
Yeah.
Because if they can go, well, that's not where my brain went. I'm like, well, then it's onto something. But if it's not for a misdirection joke, then and it's clearly where they were going, it's like, well, we repurpose that later. But yes, that's a very weird way of saying yes.
Yeah. I mean, I am looking at getting to do the Leicester Comedy Festival. Any tips, Sam, for us people who want to do it but want to do it but not too sure?
Yeah, I'd say probably, would it be like a solo show, like an hour or 45?
Well, I've got two choices, no, three choices. My original choice was with Elizabeth Fanta Black, where we get 3 disabled acts and do 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
I really want to do because it shines on different acts, and also I think Mark wants to do this, and I might help him or do the same, but different days have a showcase of disabled acts and do I don't know, 5-minute sets or 10 minutes, but I need to talk to Mark. Yeah, Mark Buckwood. Yeah, got his surname right. So, yeah. But Mark's from Downhill. And then he's got,
that is not remotely how he talks, but well done.
Love Able, Sam.
Oh, yeah, I've done that gig.
You've done it?
Yeah, I did the online one. It was really good.
All right, I must have missed that one. Never mind. And that is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I'm back on it next month, so that's if he remembers me.
You've just, according to him, you've just got his name wrong. According to him, you've just got his name wrong and said he thinks he said Buckwood.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we've got to say sorry to Sam, don't we, really? Because I spelt your name wrong on the poster.
Did you?
But no one could see that poster. So it was Serrano, SESSANO. So
it was close enough.
You should have sent me your bio on time, see?
Sorry.
He's now developing that into a rule, like the length of time someone leaves it before they send in their bio, he changes a letter in their
Yes. So anyone else
having ADHD is you're very
I shouldn't say that because you're a headliner, but hey what's Mark saying now?
Mark is saying that Sam smashed his night, which I fully believe. And you're on if only you can remember Mark's name, Benny.
How very funny, Mark, whatever his surname is. No, it's a good night. Do you guys think there should be more disabled nights, or is it saying we need our night. We need more nights because we're different, or I don't know. I want more nights to see more disabled people, but
Yeah.
I don't want to segregate everyone, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I think for me, the direction would be just to make clubs more accessible in a way. So, like, I can't think of a club like it's just like one of the big clubs, like Hot Water or Glee Club or whatever, that isn't downstairs.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? Or like where you don't have to climb steps to get onto the stage.
Yeah.
So I think stuff like that, like just having more access to the venue, and also making people more aware of, like, sometimes you might be a bit more quiet in green rooms. So I think most people now, if I'm in a green room, will know that I might be a bit quiet. But yeah, I think putting on nights specifically for disabled comics is amazing, and people should definitely go out and support them because it's given the representation. But I think if bigger clubs started to make it more accessible, then you'd get more people like if Rosie Jones has been the latest one who's kind of broken through, and that's because she had someone to help her get into the clubs, and like she had like, and who's the other one? David Eagle. He had someone who helps him come to the gigs, and I think
Is he the northern one in a wheelchair where he had a documentary? No.
I know the one. He was
You mean-
Scottish. The Scottish guy, I think.
I don't know. He was in a wheelchair. Again, I'm sorry if you're listening. I'm not good with names, but
What was the documentary about?
Pardon?
What was the documentary about?
It was about his family and his wife, and they had 2 kids.
Was it about called being a dad?
Yeah.
Lawrence Clark.
Yes.
Lawrence Clark.
I mean, look him up on YouTube. It's funny. I like the one where I think I'm going to do it in Nottingham. He's got a bucket shaking it up for money, and it says on the bucket, I am not a charity. Do not give me money.
I will.
They're just doing that, and people are giving him money, and he's like, no.
He's
no.
Yeah, he's genuinely saying things like, "I will get in trouble if you give me money because I'm not a charity," and they're still doing. They're like, "Oh, don't worry, mate, don't worry." And it's very funny. It gets progressively sillier as well. The things he puts on the bucket get progressively sillier. So I can recommend looking at that if you haven't seen already. Sorry,
I forgot what we were talking about.
more people in the clubs versus their own night.
Yeah. So I think if you get if clubs are more accessible, then there'll be more comedians who have disabilities who are like break in and be able to be like professional. So Chris McClawland is a blind comedian from Liverpool. He is brilliant, and he's pro, but I think it took him a little bit longer to become pro just because it's harder to get to the gigs and it's harder to do it.
It's basically like you, Helen, and Kate. There are women gigs, female gigs, but again, if they made nights safer for you female ladies, you wouldn't have to segregate. I mean, it's good because I like going to female gigs because I think you're funny. I mean, what do you think, Helen?
I do think that specialised nights are important and have their place. I think there's still quite an accessibility problem generally, as Sam said. You'll often see there's one wheelchair space, if you can even get a wheelchair in because of the steps. And one of the good things about lockdown is gigs are a lot more accessible if you have a computer, but you couldn't normally get out of the house. I'm banging a bit of a drum about this at the moment. I think virtual gigs should continue because I don't know that they will, but I think generally accessibility and all female nights. I performed at one before lockdown and it's great.
Was it Tickle Pink?
No, it was Top Crack at the Hot Shack. They had a female lineup for that.
Cool. I mean, hopefully after lockdown, I am looking at getting a gig in either Nottingham / Derbyshire because I'm on the border. But I want my night to be for disabled people. I think 70% will be disabled acts, but for those who car share with disabled people, I think able-bodied people are more than welcome to come along and do my night because it gives that I don't know the word, but yeah, it gives it more different comedians, yeah. So yeah, what about you, Kate?
I like specific nights. I'm pretty much the same as Helen in the sense that I really do like the specific nights. I think they are great, and it's quite interesting because when you particularly looking at it from point of view of a female comedian, you look at it and sometimes you'll be the only woman on a bill, and you suddenly notice how different it is. Hello, Graham. How different it is to everyone. How different it is to be on a bill with all women versus all men, and you can suddenly go, the topics are different. And it's also a thing of when you know everyone in the audience is there because they're all women or they're all disabled or something, you can feel going, right, so this is the thing that we wouldn't normally talk about in, I don't want to say mixed company, but sort of you wouldn't talk about it because it would make other people uncomfortable. But this is it feels like a safer space sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I find when I was at Portland College or down south, I had Fab Club. Have you guys heard of Fab Club?
I think I've heard you talk about it.
It's died and gone. I think it died when Rolf Harris got accused of whatever because he was the chairman. But that was my connection to being disabled. That is where I could mingle and get advice. But now I haven't got that, and I haven't got Portland College, which was a disabled college. But when I went down to Mark Buckwood's Laugh Able night, it was great. I don't like to use the word, but I was with my people, I could communicate like I used to in my 20s. I mean, do you feel like that sometimes, Sam?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's one thing that I love about the specific gigs where it's a specific female lineup or disabled lineup is you feel there's a certain sense of like unity and everyone it feels more close together. So I think the closest I've done to it is like LGBT nights where it's audiences who wouldn't usually go to comedy and they've all kind of joined together to come along to this, and it's so great because you can do material about stuff that you couldn't do at a normal like a comedy club. So like I did a gig for a disabled charity, and when I did my stuff about learning difficulties, it felt different because people connected to it more because they related to what I was going on about.
Yeah.
I just, because I've got stuff written that I'm like, that's too niche for like clubs. People won't understand what that is or what I'm talking about. So going to those specific nights is just, it's a completely different vibe, and I love doing them. Like, yeah, they're great gigs just because it's just a different feel to it, and it's more you can relate to people better at those gigs.
Yeah. What about you, Helen?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I definitely feel more comfortable doing material about autism at Lovelock, for instance, than in a general sort of comedy club. Although I do material elsewhere. Yeah, it's just a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna see what Kate has to say because I think I've talked too much.
Yeah.
Now, what are you trying to say, Kate?
I said nothing. I said nothing.
No.
I'm just here. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any more questions. So, what are you looking forward to? This is such like a this is such. I literally am taking these questions from like the back pages of one of those magazines, being like, so tell us these questions. So, what are you looking forward to the most out of coming out of lockdown and going back into hopefully a good comedy scene?
Money. I'm joking.
That's a fair answer.
I'm looking forward to just being able to do like intimate gigs again.
Yeah.
They're my favorite, like gigs in like smaller rooms where there's like 50-seater rooms, which are now like 15-seater rooms with socially distanced. But I think his comedy works better so packed together and like where everyone's like close together. Like, you know, when you see like the pictures of chickens in like all those cages and they're all clumped together and you're meant to go, oh, that looks horrific. How dare they be kept in those conditions? I'd look at that and go, oh, that looks like a brilliant gig. Because they're all clumped together and it would be amazing. It would be an amazing gig. But yeah, I'm looking forward
to the fact that you said that and you're a vegan. I quite like that. It's like, just quite like that. That's quite cool. But yes, I know exactly what you mean.
I'm looking forward to everyone clumped together, enjoying it again.
That is good. That is a good thing. Good shout. And Helen, are you I know you said you'd like to continue with the online gigs, and I'm totally with you on that. I love them. But is there anything you really, really are looking forward to back about live comedy?
I'm finding it really hard to imagine getting back to live comedy for a while because I've been being a bit more careful, I think, than most people. I haven't got back out there yet. I do really enjoy traveling, like the experience of just being sat on the megabus with my music on for hours, even though the prospect of jumping back into that at the moment is terrifying because not just the aspect of, you know, will I catch the virus, but also having to do everything differently. like at the start of lockdown, even the trip to the supermarket was, oh my God, how does this work? So it's going to be like that in every single new situation for a while, I think. And that's quite tiring to think about, but I am looking forward to one day being back on a stage, so just don't know when.
Yeah.
This is the question. It's like, if you could tell, if someone could say, this is when it's all going to be over, that would be lovely. But I think that's not exactly how these things work.
No, I think we're going to go back into lockdown before we come out of it. I mean, that's why we're doing these little interviews to try and get you guys out there and go, we do exist. We might be stuck in our houses, but don't put us back under the stairs. We are human beings.
Are you Harry Potter?
Potter reference?
Yes. And we deserve we deserve respect. So yeah. I think that's it. One more question from Gobby here. Do you regret your disability, or has it made you? If you could have a wish where someone could take it away, would you, or has it made you for who you are today? Helen?
I honestly wouldn't be anybody else. I think everything that's happened to me has brought me here. It feels like I was meant to be on a stage doing comedy. I just didn't know it till now. It's cliched, but it's true.
No, it is true. And Sam?
Yeah, and the same. I couldn't imagine not having like Kabuki syndrome, or I'd hate to not have ADHD. But that's why I won't take like medication for it, because I like being quite energetic, and I like that part of who I am. And I think it's such a big part of me as a person. I feel if I didn't have that disability, then I don't know who I'd be or what I'd be like. So yeah, I actually like having ADHD.
I think you would make a lot of money if we could bottle your HHD. We could sell it for 100 quid a bottle. It'd be better than testosterone drugs, what the bodybuilders build. I don't mean the medication what people need, because I take testosterone. But we will save that for next week. So, yeah, well, thank you guys for joining us. Just want to say hi, Tash, and goodbye, Tash. So, it's an old friend from college. So, yeah, so thank you for coming on. So we will say goodbye to everyone, and then we'll have a chat. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
And we'll see
Bye,
you
everyone.
on 2nd of October with 2 other comedians. Bye. Bye. Bye.